Let's get started on our artwork inspired by the book Ish by Peter H. Reynolds. So as we saw in the book, Ramon created a lot of artwork that was kind of like the objects he was drawing. So he had a tree-ish, house-ish, boat-ish, afternoon-ish, fish-ish, sun-ish drawing. So all of his artwork looked kind of like what he was trying to draw, but they weren't perfect. So today we are not going to create a perfect artwork. We are just going to pick something we want to draw and we are going to try drawing it. After we draw it or paint it, I also left out my paints in case you have paints and wanted to use them. My challenge for you is going to be to use art vocabulary, color, line, shape, space, texture, to talk about your artwork. So in order to do that, we actually need to add those things into our artwork. So if you wanted to have your object in space, if you wanted to add shapes, lines, color, texture, space, keep that in mind as you're creating. For today, I am going to use this little succulent plant in this teacup as my object that I'm going to try and recreate. So I'm going to start with a colored pencil. Something light. Oh, and another challenge for you is not to erase today. Even if you think you made a mistake, I don't want you to erase. I want you to just stick with what you're doing and we'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to kind of look at this little teapot. You can choose your object or you can wait and just watch until I'm done and then go ahead and try and create your artwork. I'm just going to add some shapes that I see. So I see these, almost looks like an ear on the side of my teacup. I want to make sure I keep looking at it. I see these little designs. I know I'm gonna not get it perfect. I'm moving kind of quickly because it doesn't need to be perfect today. We are just trying to make our artwork look something like what we're looking at. All right, so I saw this blue stripe. And then I see all these golden designs. Instead of doing all those designs, I might want to just add my own designs. So like I said, you can either be picking your own object or you can just follow along, and when I'm done, then you can go find your object. All right, so I kind of have sort of my teacup done. I don't want to do back here because I know that my little plant is going to go right inside there. So now I'm looking at my plant and I'm seeing definitely some texture on there, little white bumps. They kind of look like little triangles coming up. I'm just gonna start adding them in, little triangles. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. I just wanna see if we can get it, to use our lines, shapes, texture, color, space to create something that looks kind of like what we're trying to recreate. Okay, I have some, kind of looks like it. We're getting there. All right, I think I'm gonna add some paints to kind of give my teacup some more shape. If you don't have paint, remember, you could use colored pencils to shade in. You could use crayons. I'm gonna use my paint because it's gonna go a little bit faster. And that way you guys can see the whole thing. I don't have to go into super speed. And get the background on my cup here. All right, let's take a look. Looks like there's a little line across the bottom. All right, and now here's one example of how I'm actually going to create space. So I'm gonna put like a table behind my teacup where my teacup is sitting. And I might go ahead and add, I'm looking at a window over here, so I might just add a window in the background. All right. So you can go ahead and add space to yours too. If you're feeling like that's too much, that's all right. You can just go ahead and create the object. If you wanted to put your object in space, it could be any kind of space you wanted. You can get creative. We did create our winter wonderlands earlier, or last month. So we did talk a little bit about space. And maybe there's some things hanging on the wall here. We don't know what they are because they're just kind of scribbly-ish. So I have my teacup plant-ish so far. Let's see if I can add, it's kind of plant-ish. Let's add some leaves, make it leafish. Add some texture to these leaves. Okay, and then I'm just gonna finish it off by creating just adding some texture to my table. And that's it. So today's drawing was very quick. We are just going to try and get the essence of what we're drawing. It doesn't need to be perfect, just trying to freely create whatever we see. So you can create a couple of these too. You don't have to stick with just one. If I wanted to, I could draw something else. But this is what I would call plant-ish or teacup-ish. It's just kind of looks like it. It's not perfect. It doesn't have all these white specks. It doesn't have all these gold designs, but it's pretty good. Now, my challenge for you was at the end of our artwork, we are going to talk about our artwork using art vocabulary. So remember, our vocabulary, say them with me: color, line, shape, space, texture. So here's an example. You could grab your artwork when you're finished and go up to someone in your house and say, hey, can I tell you about my artwork? And what I would say is, one thing I really like about my artwork is the scribbly lines I used on my teacup. Or another example, one thing I really like about my artwork is the colors I used. So you can tell someone about your artwork, tell them what you like about it, maybe tell them what you don't like about it. The important part of the challenge is that you use the word color, line, shape, space, texture correctly. So you might say, I really wanted to add some texture on my leaves, but all of the paint blended in and now it just looks like blobs. That's another thing you could say. So we are going to create our artwork. So you chose an object, create an artwork, loosely using your lines. It doesn't need to be perfect, no erasing. And then your challenge is to use our art elements to describe your artwork to someone at home. I hope you guys have a great time creating your artwork-ish today, and I will see you next time.